I was really inspired by this French paratrooper's prayer, 1942 prayer that I guess they found, and have you heard of it?
Yeah, I think the prayer you're referring to, and I'm going to paraphrase here just a little bit. This paratrooper prays to God, not for the things that everyone else asks, but for the things that no one asked for. And what he's looking for is the hardest things in life, and the strength to overcome those hard things, because he believes that someday in life he may not have the strength to continue to ask for those hard things.
Welcome to Spartan Up Podcast. We've got Joe Sena, Johnny Waite, Dave DeLuca, Sephra. I love that you're just Sephra. It's like share. It's just one word, Prince. And we have Marion behind the camera. We never get to see Marion, but Marion nods, so we know you're there. You know who is here in spirit, but was you were actually with him, Colonel Fellinger.
Oh, he's an animal.
Incredible. This one I thought was so incredible. You talk about when life hands you hard stuff, you want to know how to deal with it, this is the guy.
Yeah, this is the guy. This is almost like the wolf in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
You got a problem. Oh, I didn't know you were calling the wolf. Now we're calling Fellinger.
This guy will fix it, and he'll show you too, which is even more important.
We are here for Spartan Up Podcast with retired Colonel Fellinger, who's been in the military for 26 years?
That's right.
26 years. You've been a model of health and fitness, not only for yourself, but you've been promoting it throughout the military. And I want to get into some key concepts for motivation, for fitness, for mental health, and see what your thoughts are and what your beliefs are.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So lots of people talk about problems they have. Can't move forward. They're stuck. For me, I've got this saying, no problem. Nothing's really a problem. I don't know, have you come across this kind of mindset throughout your career?
Yeah, I have. And what I like to tell my folks is, bring me the hardest problems you've got. You solve the easy ones, I'll take the hard ones on, and we're going to solve them. I like the idea of no problem. But for me, the harder the problem, the better, because at the end, it's more rewarding to solve those harder problems than it is the simple, easy ones that anyone can solve.
That's pretty motivational. It's pretty must be amazing leadership skill, right? Like you take the little ones, give me the big ones.
Yeah. So problems, and it's not necessarily the problem. It's it's the process you go through to solve the problem, and it's really the satisfaction at the end of that problem. Let the hard ones keep coming, keep bringing them on. I'm not afraid to take them on.
If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger, right?
Exactly.
That's what they say.
Exactly.
All right, I got a bunch of notes here I wanted to go over with you because you've been doing this your whole life. One of the other things we talk about is turning iron into steel. Right? Iron is a soft, malleable metal. It comes out of the ground, but then they heat it, they pound it, they drown it, and all of a sudden you've got steel, one of the most used materials in the world. And you do that with your men.
Absolutely.
So what's the theory there? How do you not break them?
Well, yeah, I think first of all, there's moderation. We can talk a little bit about that, but the process is the same. When you consider taking a young American, 18, 19 years old, off the street, out of high school where obesity rates are as high as they've ever been in our nation, and you're turning them into somebody that can go and fight our nation's wars. That is taking that iron ore from the ground. It's heating it, it's beating it, and then drowning it and turning it into steel. It's a longer process when you're talking about soldiers. It doesn't happen overnight.
Sure.
And really for the military, it happens in several different phases. I mean, there's the individual hardening, turning that individual into that steel, and then small units, and then into larger units. And it's the steel. It's those who are the most resilient and the strongest that are going to survive when you go into harm's way.
When the going gets tough.
Absolutely.
And how do you know they're ready?
Physically, it's pretty simple to tell when folks are ready. You put a rucksack on their back, you make them walk 25 miles with it, you make them climb a rope. The hard part is determining when they're mentally ready. And you may never get that right, but you can certainly push in that direction by making the training as realistic as you can make it, by challenging them both mentally and physically, and not just mental strength, but also mental resiliency. Your ability to bounce back from adversity, and your ability And I would throw on top of that mental agility, your ability to think through problems and change on a dime if necessary.
How do you develop that mental resiliency? Like for physical, you throw them on, give them the pack, 25 miles, climb some ropes.
Yeah, I think the mental resiliency is built by forcing them into challenges that are unexpected. Putting them into situations they didn't anticipate, and then allowing them to come up with a solution to the problem, and then realizing that, hey, I didn't know what I was doing when I started this thing, but I came to an acceptable solution. I can do it in about anything. And I'll tell you one thing. As I train folks to do Spartan races, for example, there's a whole lot of people that say, there's no way I'm going to get up that wall. I just can't do it. Or there's no way I'm getting over the monkey bars. And they get to the race, and all of a sudden they do it. They're excited. And that is creating that resiliency mentally, because now they're going to come back the next time and say, that obstacle wasn't a problem for me. Now I'm going to focus on something else. So it's allowing them, it's giving them a challenge, allowing them to succeed, or they allow themselves to succeed in solving those challenges, and that's what's building that resiliency. It's giving them the confidence that they can do just about anything. You
break them down, you build them back up, and then you try to get as close to perfect as you can before you let them loose.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's close to perfect, but understanding that the fight that we're in right now across the globe is not a perfect fight. So you want folks who again are mentally agile. They can think through problems on their own. We're not fighting a war. We're not fighting the Soviets anymore, who are very predictable. So I want a soldier that is physically fit, that is mentally resilient, mentally agile, and isn't afraid to take charge and make decisions when they have to.
Let's talk about motivation. Where do these soldiers, where do people in general, where do you get the steam and the motivation to just move forward every day?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I've been privileged in my career, serving as an infantryman and serving mostly in airborne units, that I've had the opportunity to serve with soldiers who have volunteered at least twice. You volunteer to join the Army, you volunteer to become a paratrooper. And I'll tell you, that first step out of an airplane, with a round parachute, it requires motivation every single time. No matter how many times you've done it, there's always that moment of fear. And like I tell my soldiers, if you're motivated enough to take that first step, you're going to be able to talk about it forever. But if you don't take that first step, if you don't have the motivation to take that first step, then don't ever bother coming to talk.
It's that old cliche, right? Just take the first step.
Absolutely.
And that's the hardest one to take, and that it probably requires the most motivation. But once you take that step, then you go into autopilot.
Yeah, well, autopilot, like I tell people, you want to create irreversible momentum. You want to get that flywheel going so fast that there's no way you can ever step back. So, the taking that first step is the challenge. Of getting that flywheel getting it going is the toughest part.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people, and they said the hardest thing is when you get an injury, God forbid, or something happens, then getting back in the game. Mm-hmm. But once you're in the game, it's easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm privileged that in the latter part of my career, I got to spend a lot of time with younger soldiers, and I like to think that they kept me young. And I would frequently challenge them, in training them, but also challenging them in fitness competitions. And their motivation was, here's a guy that's older than my dad, who's whooping me right now in pull-ups or push-ups or whatever event we were doing that day. So their motivation every day was coming in and wanting to beat me in something.
Beat the colonel.
Exactly, which is great because they all got better.
I hope you're not sitting still while you listen. If you are, you better get a burpee break in.
What about this idea of living to fight another day? Like we tell people, I'm sure you tell people, get out of your comfort zone, like you just said, push your limits. But there's a point of no return, right? There's that, you can't cross that line.
Yeah, I like to tell people there's when you take a risk, you understand you can recover from a risk. If you're going after a gamble, you'll never recover from a gamble. So the idea is understanding what your limitations are. If you want to take risks, that's great because you can recover from them. If you've done the proper analysis, if you go out and gamble on something, you're not going to recover from that. So it's about being smart. It's about understanding your limits and living to fight another day.
Let's talk about growth. So there's this idea the mind doesn't grow unless it's uncomfortable.
There's benefits to be had from suffering. When you've got that 65-pound, 70-pound rucksack on your back and you're walking 25 miles, you're at that time probably not thinking about the growth. You're probably thinking about the pain, but you're doing it because at the end of it you're going to get, you're going to be that much better. Back in the day, you used to see folks in the weight room, who would suffer under a 350-pound bench press, all to grow a little bit. I mean, that is literally, I think, where that probably comes from. But to grow as a person, grow as a human, yeah, you need to experience a little bit of discomfort. If you're not putting yourself out of your comfort zone, you might as well just stay at home on the couch and watch reality TV all day, because you're not going to make yourself a better person.
Or go in the corner, curl up and die.
Yeah, that's another great option.
They say strength comes from struggle.
Yeah, I think it comes from struggle and probably discomfort, putting yourself in situations that you're not accustomed to. But the physical strength, obviously, you can accomplish in a lot of different ways. But that mental strength, it comes from really stepping outside what you know.
Because the body responds, right? And the mind responds to stimulus.
It does. I mean, that is how we grow. It's all about applying stimulus, and that's what causes the growth. I used to tell my soldiers all the time downrange. I mean, when you first get in the country, there's always a fear of the bad guy, the enemy. He's almost like the boogeyman. And everybody goes out and does their job and does their. But as you begin to understand, you put yourself out in those situations where there may be some discomfort. You begin to understand better the adversary we're fighting, and you grow. You understand his tactics. You understand his techniques. You understand his personality in a lot of different ways. You'd never accomplish that level of growth throughout a deployment if you didn't experience the discomfort of taking that first step outside the wire.
That's a good one. Outside the wire. How about this idea of facing resistance every day and just finally just giving into it and accepting it?
Yeah. So, resistance is kind of one of the funny ones, because at the end of the day, I'm going to win. You can pile the problems on me. You can resist me all you want, but I am going to find a way to win. But I also think that really kind of strengthens us at the end of the day. Because resiliency, resistance, all had the same root word. So I enjoy people telling me that I can't do things and then proving them wrong. And because at the end of the day, I'm going to win. I'm going to figure it out.
But not everybody's like you.
No, but I mean, again, I ask people to send me the big challenges, the big problems. There are smaller problems out there that if you just, you solve small problems every single day, you're going to make yourself better, and you can win. You start off with small battles. At the end of the day, you're going to win the war.
It could always be worse. I don't know if you want to go into that. Is that something?
Yeah. So it could always be worse. Everybody has crappy days from time to time. Where you think that the world's against you, your kids are acting up, or your wife's making you change a diaper again. But what I encourage my subordinates to do is to read some books of folks who have really, the day will never get any worse for them. You want to read some good stories, read about some of the Medal of Honor winners in the Second World War. You read about Shackleton and his efforts. There's all kinds of examples out there of folks who have just endured tremendous adversity and come out and lived and talked about it. So it makes our daily problems, I guess, seem pretty trivial when you read some of these stories. Just incredible.
What are your thoughts on obesity? I have very specific thoughts. What are your thoughts on obesity?
Okay, so obesity is a shame because it is preventable. It is probably, if not the number one preventable disease in the United States. It's probably in the top 3. I believe right now about 2/3 of Americans are overweight or obese. And I believe currently, this year, it's an average of about 23 pounds. So if you were to do the math on that, the amount of money that we spend every year just to eat is unbelievable.
It's like doing the math quick, it's about $140 billion in gross revenue to the seller of that food to us. So I worked on Wall Street for a bit. I say no matter how altruistic we were, even you and I, no matter how much we wanted to feed people healthy food, if we were sitting in a boardroom, at the end of the day, we're talking about how do we sell more food.
Absolutely.
That's the conversation. How do we sell more food? And so frustrating when you think about it that way, because now we, the civilians, or the buyers of that food are up against scientists and food experts and advertisers and marketers, and the smartest people, right, are getting us to buy stuff, and then it reacts in our brain, right? They put, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but they're figuring out ways to sell us food.
Well, and it's addictive. I mean, the sugars that they put in a lot of these foods become addictive.
Yeah.
And if you go to any other country in the world, they don't have the problems that we have, because a lot of them are eating fresh vegetables, fruits and vegetables. I mean, they're not going and buying the packaged stuff that you get down the center aisles at your grocery store. They're not hooked on chips and Coke. And it's just, they're healthier lifestyles all around. I think that we've truly set ourselves up for failure as a nation. And in fact, there's been articles written about the obesity problem in the United States being a national defense threat, because we're turning down a lot of young men and women who just can't serve in our nation's military anymore. And it is truly a shame.
Good news is you've got 1 million Spartans if you need them.
Well, you know what? We need to put them to work.
That's right.
We need to get 1 million more.
So I don't know the exact stats, but I heard it could be as much as 1 pound a day of sugar we're ingesting.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. When you consider the amount of sugar that's in soft drinks, and it's very common, obviously, to see people walking around with soft drinks these days. And then just even the foods you're eating. If you were to look on the back of a food packet and look at the nutrition label, there's no way to tell how much sugar you're consuming according to a federally recognized or federal daily allowance by percentage, because it's not there. It'll tell you
because the government doesn't allow for sugar.
I just don't think they have a standard for sugar.
Right.
So you can tell the number of grams.
There's no need for sugar in the diet.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Let's eliminate it then. Let's just take that off the nutrition label. It'll tell you how many grams you're eating in the food, but it doesn't tell you how many you should be eating, which really should be 0.
I've just read a lot about this idea of the committed person versus the interested person. And my whole life I've been seeking committed people from businesses I'm running. You're seeking them for the military. And the idea is that a committed person, it doesn't matter what they're dealing with, good times, bad times, they're committed. An interested person is there when it's interesting.
Yeah.
You see that in the military?
Yeah, it's, I think in the sports world, we call the interested person, the fair weather fan. As long as there's something cool going on, I'm going to be there. But when it gets hard, I'm stepping away. The committed person is the one that's going to see it through. That's a season ticket holder, the 20-year season ticket holder at the Cincinnati Reds. Regardless of how bad the season is, they're going to be there. They're committed to their team. The committed person in life is a person that's going to see things through to the end. And obviously the military is looking for folks that are committed. Because when you're in the middle of a firefight downrange, there's no interested parties anymore. You're either committed or you're going to die.
Well, this was awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely, man. I truly appreciate it. This is a great discussion. This is a discussion more people need to be having.
That's right.
Okay, Colonel Fellinger, he's awesome. Most people in life, right, they're avoiding problems at all costs. This guy's like, lay it on, give it to me. Heads right into him. That's a good attitude.
It's the soldier's prayer, right?
Paratrooper.
Yeah.
The paratrooper's prayer.
Yeah.
Like, give me the tough stuff, God, because and I know you're going to have an opinion on this one, Dave, because everybody's asking for the good stuff. I want the worst stuff you got. Just promise me you'll keep it coming. Yeah. Man, I get chills every time I think of that, because think about the guy writing that.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's in battle. Everything's going wrong, but he's like, just give it to me. I'm here. I'm dealing with it. I want it all.
I'm going to defer to Dave because I want to hear what he has to say to what you have to say, and then I've got an idea.
Well, when people say, I want what I don't want, it literally doesn't make any sense. So
I knew the philosopher was going to do that.
So he must mean something else behind those words. And what I think he means behind those words is that I'm going to choose to define my values differently.
Yeah.
Everything that people think is a bad thing, I'm going to see as a good thing. Mm-hmm. And you do that because you know the secret. You know the secret that everyone else is a little bit confused about what the outcome is behind those bad things, what you gain from those things. Mm-hmm. And Colonel Fellinger said, it's not the problem that is the good thing, it's what you get from the problem. It's who you become.
And he talked about that's why you shouldn't avoid pain, because it's on the other side of pain who you become from that. Exactly. He talked about when you go and you work out, you're not doing that bench press to feel the pain of that bench press. You're doing that because later on there's going to be strength that was gained from that. Mm-hmm. And you're exactly right when he said, bring me the big problems. He said, you deal with the little problems, bring me the big problems. That's not the way most people operate, mm-hmm. but you're exactly right. He's not saying, I don't want them, but I'll deal with them anyway. He's actually defining himself by saying, I want them. I want to mm-hmm. define myself that way in life. Mm-hmm.
I hate to do this to you, Sephra, but you had a layup here. I mean, isn't it the tree analogy? Like the tree that withstands the terrible weather. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? Is the strongest tree with the deepest roots. Yeah. The tree that just grows in Hawaii where it's perfect weather, Well,
I've been in Hawaii working for you. There's some big weather.
That was rare.
Yeah. No, I think what you're trying to say is the strength of your character. What are we talking
about? Well, if you plant a tree and it lives in perfect weather for most of its life, and then a storm rolls in,
it's going to blow it right over.
It's going to blow it right over.
Yeah, but those ones that are on those wind-swept, gale-forcey, they're all craggly, scraggly, and they've been dealing with adversity. Yeah, you're not knocking those over.
Yeah, storm ends and they're the same as they were before. They're just fine.
Do you agree with that, philosopher?
Well, I want to say, Colonel Fellinger did say that you need to know what kind of person you are. You need to know whether you're the kind of person who takes on big problems or you're the kind of person who takes on little problems.
Yeah, it's like depends on the tree.
Right. So every
is becoming a horticulturist.
So going along with the natural world, everyone I kind of see as a different kind of animal. Some people are bears, some people are squirrels, some people are fish, metaphorically speaking. And if you're
spirit animals, thank you, philosopher.
Yeah, if you're metaphorically a fish and you try to act like a monkey and climb a tree, you're not going to do a great job. You're going to be frustrated. But if you realize I'm a fish, I'm really not meant to climb trees. You're going to get really good at what you're meant to do, which is swimming, and people are going to love to watch you swim because you're great at it.
And that's actually a perfect segue into another thing that he was talking about, which was the idea about how you create, because he's a guy who creates soldiers, right? Mm-hmm. And he talked about that you go and find your iron ore, you take it out of the ground, and how are you going to forge that? And he talked about the way that you've built mental resiliency was having people deal with unexpected obstacles. And he talked about how often people would say, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. And then find out they could. Yeah, I'll never get over that wall. And then they find out they can get over that wall. Mm-hmm. And it's incredible how people will fight for their weaknesses. And I think back to a Spartan race in Toronto in 2012. I was there with my daughter, 2013. And we came up to an 8-foot wall and she said, Dad, I can't get over that. I said, you can totally get over that. And she jumped up the wall and said, I really can't get over it. I said, you can absolutely get over that. And she jumped up and she grabbed the top and said, but I can't get my leg up. I said, you can totally get your leg up. Mm-hmm. I didn't help her once. 7 times she told me she couldn't do it. And then she was on the other side. Mm-hmm. And it's incredible that once you find out that you can get through something and can do something.
But isn't that what coming out the other side of pain is?
100%. And it's the idea that once you get through that unexpected obstacle, that thing you didn't think you could deal with, and then you deal with it, you now found out that you actually are capable of more. Now, he's a guy who has been through so much. I love also that he talked about, you think you got it hard? There are people who've had it much harder. And he talked about if you're ever really struggling and feeling bad for yourself, go talk to a Medal of Honor winner from World War II and find out what they went through. I love the expression, whenever something bad happens, I'll tell myself, far worse than this has happened to far better people than me. Right, and you just dig back in. Mm-hmm. But the idea, and you talked about how you build steel, right? You take iron ore, which is a very soft material,
heat it, pound it, drown it.
Exactly. And then
welcome to Sparta.
Well, and at the other end of it, so when you're making soldiers, and like you say, not everyone's a soldier, right? Mm-hmm. So everyone comes in, and it may be that person is not a soldier. Mm-hmm. Now they may go on to be a phenomenal poet, they may go on to be a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal whatever else. Mm-hmm. But the only way you find out if they're going to be a soldier is you try and turn them into steel. Right. So the idea of putting people in the path of difficulty, I think, is hugely important. I got to go back to Barry Hearn. We do this a lot.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to get a microphone where Barry's not actually there, but it's his microphone.
Yeah, but he said the way to find out what you're not good at is to do it. Right, and not see it as a failure, but see it as, I just found something that I'm not good at. I'll go do this other thing.
Sure.
And so every single time difficulty comes at you, deal with it. And either you succeed.
Accept it, embrace it, smile at it, get it done.
You come out the other end stronger one way or the other. You either now have a new skill that you didn't have before, or you find out this isn't what I'm good at. I'll go on and do other things. But yeah.
Let's roll.
Sure. Thanks for listening to the Spartan Up Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to all our channels. And thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to another epic story of success.
To find more show notes, lessons, audio, video, and everything Spartan, please visit us at spartan.com/podcast.
The Spartan Up Podcast is brought to you by Spartan.
To find a race near you, visit Spartan.com.
If you like our message, please help us get the word out. Tell your friends about Spartan Up. And go ahead and subscribe on iTunes or YouTube, wherever you watch or listen to the show.